Greetings, friends, and welcome to Stillness Unfolded. I'm thrilled you're here in this quiet space where stories bloom like lotus petals and wisdom whispers through time. Imagine a village nestled against an ancient mountain, its peaks standing as silent guardians. Here lived Amara, her wrinkled hands once weaving baskets, tilling fields, and nurturing her children's dreams. She gave her youth to her family and village, trusting love, like seeds sown each spring, would return as gratitude. But as years faded like mist in sunlight, she sat alone, her home silent, her efforts forgotten. One evening, by the glow of an oil lamp, a question stirred, after all I've given, what's left for me? Today, I share a tale beyond Amara's journey through Buddhist wisdom, where life is a breath on the wind. What if peace hides not in others' gifts, but in a choice we've missed? This video brims with insights, stories, and truths to shift your view, so stay till the end to uncover it all. If it sparks curiosity, please like, subscribe to Stillness Unfolded, and comment below. Your support helps us grow, bringing more tales of stillness to you. Now, step into Amara's world. Something in her silence hints at a mystery waiting to unfold. The illusion of reciprocity. Long ago, in a humble village cradled by a babbling stream beneath the shadow of a great mountain, Amara was the warm breeze that touched every home. Before dawn's first light pierced the velvet sky, she rose, her hands grinding rice with rhythmic grace, her laughter weaving through the chatter of children splashing by the water's edge. When rain draped the world in a silver shroud, she climbed rooftops to mend leaks, her fingers numb but steadfast. She shared her last bowl of soup with a weary traveler, his eyes hollow with hunger, and sat awake through endless nights tending the sick, her voice a soft balm against their groans. Her heart was a deep well, brimming with generosity, and she believed the water she drew for others would one day flow back, carrying gratitude in its gentle current. Yet, as the years painted her hair silver and bent her once strong frame, her children's visits grew rare, their footsteps fading into distant echoes. The village, once alive with her warmth, now pulsed with the voices of youth who scarcely knew her name, their lives a tapestry woven without her thread. The Buddha once taught, all things are impermanent. This truth, anicca, is like a stream that carves its own course, heedless of our desires or the dams we build with hope. We give with open hands, expecting loyalty, love, or even a whispered thank you to drift back to us. But like Amara, we often find the world does not pause to repay us. It flows onward, relentless and indifferent. I've felt this sting myself. Years ago, I poured hours into writing letters to friends, offering counsel, fueling their dreams with my energy, my ink staining the page with care. I waited for a gesture of thanks, a hand reaching back through the silence, but the quiet that followed revealed a profound lesson. Expectations are chains we craft ourselves, each link forged in the fire of unreturned kindness. Think for a moment, how often have you given everything, only to taste the bitter sting of being forgotten? It's not cruelty in others, most are simply swept along their own streams, chasing distant horizons, their eyes fixed on peaks we cannot see. Buddhism teaches that suffering springs from clinging to people, to outcomes, to the notion that life must balance its scales. Amara sat by her window, watching leaves drift through seasons, their colors fading like her hopes, and saw that her pain stemmed not from her children's absence, but from her yearning for their return. When she released that yearning, letting it fall like a stone into the stream, she felt the first breath of freedom, a breeze that carried no debt. Reclaiming your energy. One day, as Amara wandered the worn village path, her shadow stretching long in the afternoon sun, she met an old monk resting beneath the sprawling branches of a banyan tree. His robes were patched, threadbare from years of wandering, his eyes serene as a still pond reflecting the sky. She bowed, her voice trembling, and asked, "Venerable sir, I've given my life to others, my strength, my years, yet now I dwell in solitude, an empty shell. What am I to do?" The monk smiled, his wrinkles deepening, and pointed to a bird perched above, its feathers glinting gold. "See how it sings without seeking praise? It soars for its own delight, not for the crowd below. You, too, must rediscover your melody, a song sung for no one but yourself." That night, Amara lit her oil lamp, its flame flickering like a fragile hope, and took up a bamboo basket she'd abandoned years before. Her stiff fingers faltered at first, protesting the unfamiliar task, then danced with the reeds, weaving patterns of memory and peace. A quiet joy blossomed within, a joy that asked for no one's nod of approval, pure as the stream's song. In old age, we often pursue the shadows of what once was, relationships that have faded like mist, roles we no longer hold, their outlines blurring in the dusk of time. But here's a truth I've come to know: if you don't reclaim your energy, no one will return it to you. It's a treasure buried beneath years of giving, waiting for your hands to unearth it. This isn't about closing the door on the world, it's about kindling the light within, a flame that has flickered too long for others. For years, we've been candles burning to warm those around us, our wax melting drop by drop, but when the wick nears its end, we must renew the fire ourselves. I think of my friend Covey, a carpenter whose hands shaped a village's life. He built homes for neighbors, their walls echoing with laughter, tables for their feasts laden with bounty, cradles for their little ones rocking gently in the night. When he retired, he expected his community to gather round, filling his days with gratitude, their voices a chorus of thanks. Instead, they drifted away, leaving him bitter in his workshop, surrounded by tools gone cold. I urged him to carve something just for himself, a small wooden bird, perhaps, its wings poised for flight. He scoffed, "What's the point?" But as his knife shaped the wood, tracing curves of forgotten dreams, he uncovered a piece he'd lost. That bird wasn't for sale or show, it was his alone, and in its lines, he found his worth anew, a quiet triumph over the silence of neglect. And you? What have you set aside in the haste to tend others? A book half read, its pages yellowing with time, a garden yet to bloom with your touch, a morning watching the sunrise paint the sky. These aren't extravagances, they are lifelines, threads to weave your spirit whole again. The Buddha Samadhi, deep concentration, teaches us to nourish our own essence, to sit with ourselves as we once sat with others. In this act, we don't forsake love, we redefine it, letting it begin within, a river flowing from its source. The power of silence. Amara's village once thrummed with sound, children shouting in playful chaos, merchants calling out wares with brassy voices, drums echoing through festivals like the heartbeat of the earth. She flourished in that clamor, her voice lifting to guide lost souls, to comfort the weary, a beacon in the storm of noise. But as her years grew heavy, her hair a cascade of silver, she noticed a shift. The louder she spoke, the less she was heard, her words dissolving into the wind. One afternoon, a young man quarreled with her over a trifling matter, a misplaced tool, a forgotten promise, his words sharp as thorns, cutting through her calm. She could have countered, defending her seasoned wisdom with a fire kindled by decades, but instead she smiled, her eyes soft, and turned away. In that silence, she discovered a strength she'd never known, a strength that needed no echo to stand tall. The Buddha taught Samavakarite speech within the Eightfold Path. Words must be true, kind, and needed, rising like lotus blooms from the mud of intent, but when they serve no purpose, silence is the wiser path, a refuge of peace. I've learned this through my own craft, ink-stained, and hard-won. Once, I argued endlessly with a critic who scorned my writing, his barbs piercing my pride. Hours of words left me weary, for what gain? A fleeting victory that crumbled like dust. The next time, I let his judgment linger unanswered, a cloud passing over the sun. His voice faded into the ether, but my peace endured, solid as stone beneath the stream. In the sutras, there's a tale of a monk facing a brash young scholar beneath a Bodhi tree. The boy hurled questions like arrows, each one aimed to provoke a clash of minds, craving the thrill of debate. The monk listened, his breath steady, nodded with gentle grace, and said only, "Thank you for your thoughts," before returning to his meditation, his stillness a mirror. Stunned, the scholar later came back not to debate, but to learn, his arrogance softened by the quiet. Silence had spoken louder than any argument, a sermon without sound. Here's a curious thing. The fourth sign unveiling silence's power is its stillness, something so familiar we miss its might, like the air we breathe yet never see. It's not weakness, but mastery over the urge to prove ourselves, a discipline forged in the fire of restraint. Next time you're tempted to argue or explain, pause as the wind pauses before the storm. Ask, will my words enhance this moment, or merely stir the dust? If not, let silence shield you, a cloak woven of wisdom. Share with me in the comments what's a time you chose silence over noise, and how did it feel to hold that quiet strength? Observing, not interfering. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting golden threads across the village, Amara watched her grandson teeter as he crossed the stream, his small feet slipping on mossy stones. Her heart urged her to rush forward, to lift him from the chilly water that lapped at his knees, to dry his tears with the hem of her robe. But the monk's words echoed within, soft as a prayer, and she held still, her hands clasped tightly. The boy fell, his cry piercing the dusk, then rose, water dripping from his clothes, finding his balance alone. Years later, as a young man with steady hands, he thanked her not for rescuing him, but for letting him learn, his gratitude a flower born from that muddy fall. In old age, we often seek to mend others' paths, especially when experience murmurs cautions like a wind through the reeds. We see the stumbles ahead, the thorns hidden in the grass, and our hands itch to guide. Yet the Buddha knew suffering is a teacher, stern but wise. Pain etches wisdom into us, as a stream smooths stone over countless seasons, its lessons carved deep. I once tried to halt a friend's reckless choice, lending money he couldn't repay to a man with hollow promises. I begged, reasoned, offered aid, my voice rising like a tide. He ignored me, lost all his savings, his trust, and only then grasped the lesson I couldn't impart, his eyes opened by the weight of ruin. Had I stepped in, shielding him from that fall, he might never have grown, his roots shallow in untested soil. Detachment isn't indifference, a cold turning away, it's faith in life's unfolding, a trust as old as the mountains. Like a bird held gently in an open palm, others must choose to fly or stay, their wings unclipped by our will. Step back, watch with a heart both tender and still, and let the storm teach what words cannot. It's rain, a harsh but holy baptism. This is love unshackled, a gift to them and to you, a balance struck between care and surrender. Letting go of approval. Amara once lived for the village's acclaim, her days a dance to their tune. She wore their favored hues, saffron and indigo, cooked their cherished dishes, their spices lingering on her hands, shaped her hours to suit their whims, a shadow cast by their light. But when the praise dwindled, fading like a song half remembered, she stood alone beneath the vast sky, wondering who she was beneath it all, her reflection a stranger in the stream. One morning, as dew kissed the earth, she donned a plain robe of her own choosing, its weave rough but honest, sat by the water's edge, and smiled at her image rippling below. For the first time, she needed no one's gaze to affirm her worth, her heart beat for itself, a drum needing no audience. The need for approval is a heavy sack we bear, families' hopes pressing like stones, society's measures a rope around our necks, friends' opinions a weight on our shoulders. I bore it too, writing books I thought others craved, their applause my fleeting reward, not the tales aflame in my soul, wild and untamed. When I ceased, when I wrote for myself, the words flowed freely, a river breaking its banks, and the peace was mine alone, a harvest reaped in solitude. The Buddha found fulfillment not in throngs shouting his name, but in the stillness of his mind beneath the Bodhi tree, his truth a flame lit from within. Cast off that sack, let it sink into the earth. Ask, who am I when no one sees, when the mirror holds only my own eyes? The answer is your freedom, a gate unlatched by any hand but yours. What would you do if approval ceased to matter, if your steps followed no path but your own? Tell me your thoughts below. I'd love to hear how you'd rewrite your tale, a story painted in colors only you choose. In the end, Amara's life became a quiet song. She wove baskets not for praise, but for her hand's rhythm, each reed a note in her tune. She walked mountain paths not from duty, but for the wind's whisper on her face. She chose herself not selfishly, but with love for who she'd become. The monk returned, saw her peace, and said, "You've found the river's secret, it flows for itself, yet nourishes all." Dear friends, choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's a necessity to tend your own roots. You've given enough, now shape this chapter with your soul's colors. Breathe, feel the weight lift, and step into your peace. This journey's lessons are rich, so if they stirred you, like stillness unfolded, subscribe and share your thoughts below. What did Amara awaken in you? Your words help us craft more soulful stories. Until next time, care for yourself, you're worth it.